So we begin. Sorry about that. I have a little bit of a cold while I'm recording this. Bear with me. This is a review chapter. Chapter 0 is a way to review things you should have learned before, either in pre-algebra and Math 6. But adding and subtracting rational numbers. So these are rules that you should commit to memory. They will help you for the rest of your math career through high school and if needed through college and beyond. So when the signs are the same, meaning they're both positive or both negative, you should just add the numbers together, but keep the same sign you started with. So if it's two positive numbers you're adding, the answer is positive. If it's two negative numbers you're adding, the answer is negative. Now, when the signs are different, one is positive and one is negative, you should subtract the smaller number from the bigger number and keep the sign of the bigger number. So I will try to review and say these rules as I go through each one. Okay, so evaluate each expression. We have -2 plus 3. So that's a negative and a positive number. So rule number 2 applies here. We do the bigger one minus the smaller one, and we keep the sign of the bigger one, which is the positive 3. So the answer is positive 1. Now on number 2, we're adding two of the same signs together. That's a negative and a negative. So we just add 14 plus 7, and we get 21. But because we started with negative numbers, we end with a negative number as well. Now, with subtraction, you need to remember the keep, change, change rule. So the first two we were adding numbers together. This one we're subtracting. So I keep the -8 as it is, change the subtraction sign to addition, and change the -2 to a +2. So with subtraction, you start with keep, change, change, then you transition to these two rules up here. So since we have different signs, we use rule number 1, and we do the bigger number minus the smaller number, and we keep the sign of the bigger number, which is 8, so our answer is -6. Number 4 is the subtraction, so we do keep, change, change, change subtraction to a positive, -9 to +9. We add these two together, 38 plus 9 is 47, and since both of them are positive, our answer stays positive. Now what we see as we have 3 numbers, we follow the same process, but we do the first two first. So I think this is basic enough. I don't have to do keep, change, change. 15 minus 13 is 2. And then 2 plus 2 is 4. But with order of operations, you should always do the operations from left to right, because subtracting and adding are in the same category. They're the same step. So you do the 2 on the left first, then the 1 on the right. Okay, number 6, 16 minus -13. So we do keep, change, change. Then we do it again here because we have minus and negative again. So we change the minus to a positive or a plus, and the negative to a positive. So we add the first two together first. They're the same sign. 16 plus 13 is 29. These are also the same sign. 29 plus 5 is 34. And since all these numbers are positive, our answer is also positive. Okay, number 7 is the subtraction problem. So we do keep the -6, change the subtraction to addition, and the +24 to a -24. So we use rule number 1, sorry. The signs are the same. So we just add these two numbers together. 6 plus 24 is 30. But we keep the negative sign because that's what they both were when they started. I often try to associate this with money. Subtracting means you spent money. So you spent $6, then you spent $24 more, so you spent the total of $30. Okay, so again, we got to do this step by step. So number 8, do these two first. We're adding opposite signs, so we subtract them. We keep the sign of the bigger one, which is the 5. So we keep a positive 2. Plus negative 5 plus 12. Just bringing this down so we continue the problem. So 2 plus negative 5, that's different signs. So I subtract the bigger one minus the smaller one. And I keep the sign of the bigger one. 5 is bigger than 2, so it's a negative 3 plus 12. And again, we have different signs. Negative 3, positive 12. So I do the bigger one minus the smaller one. I get 9. And since 12 is the bigger one, it stays a positive 9. Okay? Now, I didn't mention this before, but rational numbers are numbers that can be written as a fraction. Now, everything on 1 through 8 was whole numbers, but a whole number can always be written as a fraction just by putting it over 1. Like negative 3 is just negative 3 over 1. 5 is just 5 over 1. So whole numbers are rational numbers because they can be written as a fraction. Notice I didn't say they are written as a fraction, just that they can be written as a fraction. But on number 9, we do have two fractions. When the denominators are the same, we can just go ahead and do the adding or subtracting. So we're subtracting, so I'll do keep, change, change. And the denominators will stay the same. Those don't change when you're adding or subtracting. But 2 plus negative 7, we have different signs, a positive 2 and a negative 7. So we do the bigger one minus the smaller one, which is a 5. We keep the sign of the bigger one, which is the 7, so we make it a negative 5/3. On number 10, the denominators are not the same, so we have to make them the same. So we got to think, what's the smallest number that both 7 and 3 go into evenly? That would be 21. So I multiply this fraction top and bottom by 3, so that I get 21 in its denominator. Multiply this one top and bottom by 7, so I get 21 in its denominator. So again, the denominators, once you make them alike, won't change when you add or subtract. So we just have to focus on the numerators. 6 plus 7, they're both positive, so we add them together. We get 13 over 21. Yeah, I know it's a lot, but I want us to get a lot of practice with this so this becomes rote and just automatic for us as we go through. Okay, so 11, these are both the same denominator. So we can go with keep, change, change. So keep negative 4 over 5, change it to plus, and change it to negative 7 over 5. Like I have said, these denominators do not change. So these are the same signs, both negative. 4 plus 7 is 11, but we keep their sign, which is negative. Okay, on number 12, we have different denominators. So we got to think, what's the smallest number that both 12 and 14 go into evenly? 12 and 4. And that would be 12. So this one is already where we want it to be because it has the denominator of 12. But this one, we'll have to multiply top and bottom by 3. So it's a subtraction problem, so we'll do keep the 5/12, change subtraction to addition, change the positive 9 to a negative 9. So since we're adding different signs, it's a positive 5 and a negative 9. I'll do the bigger minus the smaller, but I'll keep the sign of the bigger one, which is the negative 9. So I get negative 4 over 12, which we can reduce to negative 1 over 3. Okay, on 13, we got to think, what's the smallest number that both 15 and 10 can go into evenly? That would be 30. So to make 15 turn into 30, we multiply the top and bottom by 2. To make the 10 turn into 30, we multiply top and bottom by 3. Okay, these are different signs written together, negative 8, positive 9. So we do the bigger one minus the smaller one, which is 1, and we keep the sign of the bigger one, which is the positive 9. So positive 1 over 30 is our answer. (14), we also have to find a common denominator. The smallest number that goes evenly into both 5 and 2 is 10. So we'll multiply this one top and bottom by 5, so that the denominator equals 10. This one will multiply top and bottom by 2, and we get 16 over 10. These are different signs. One's negative, one's positive, so we do the bigger one minus the smaller one, and we keep the sign of the bigger one, which is the positive 16, so it's a positive 1 over 10. Okay, and now for our last section, we'll switch to decimals. The rules are still the same. So these are the same signs, so I'll add them together. I'm going to add a 0 here because we want the decimal to line up. This had 2 decimal places. We'll add a 0, so this also has 2 decimal places. So we add these together. And since they were both negative, our answer is negative. Okay, here they're different signs, positive, negative. So we take the bigger one, 3.5, and we subtract the smaller one, 2.3. 5 minus 3 is 2, 3 minus 2 is 1, and we keep the sign of the bigger number, which is 3.5. So our answer is negative 1.2. On 17, they both have the same sign, they're both negative. So when they have the same sign, we add them together. Sorry, no reason for that line right there. 6 plus 9 is 15. Carry the 1. 1 and 2 and 3 together is 6. And then 1 is 1. So since they were both negative, our answer is negative. So it's negative 16.5. Okay, we have different signs, so we do the bigger one minus the smaller one. And notice, because the smaller one had an extra decimal place, had to add an extra decimal place to the bigger one as well, so they both have 2 decimal places. Well, we can't do 0 minus 5, so we'll have to borrow 1 from the 5. 10 minus 5 is 5. 4 minus 2 is 2. We put the decimal place there. 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay, 19, we see subtraction, so we're going to do keep, change, change. So we're actually adding these two together. They're both positive. So we just add them together. 4 plus 2 is 6. 5 plus 3 is 8. 2 plus 0 is 2. And since they're both positive, our answer stays positive. On 20, we also do keep, change, change. So these are also being added together, and they're the same sign, so we'll just add them and keep their sign. I added a 0.0 to the 57, so it matched the 1 decimal place of 24.6. 0 plus 6 is 6. 7 plus 4 is 11. We carry the 1. 1 plus 5 plus 2 is 8. And since our question was all positive numbers, our answer will also be positive.